Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces here. I'll introduce some of our team in a bit, but this is our second part to a sort of like short video series we're calling Increasing Your Home's Value. Today, we're talking about interiors. We did do a previous one of these where we spoke about increasing your home's value in the exterior. So if you haven't watched that and you're interested, it's on our YouTube channel. I am Danny Romero. I am a listing agent with the Upstate Curious team. We also have Katie Porte, who's also a listing agent here. Angelica, who is our director of sales and our lead buyer's agent. We are all licensed real estate salespersons with the Upstate Curious team at Keller Williams Hudson Valley Realty North. Very important, got to get the legal disclaimers out of the way. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking about from, a seller's perspective, how to get your home ready for listing, but more importantly, what are sort of some things that you can do to increase the value, and not just increase the value in two ways. And we'll get into that a little bit. I also want to ask Angelica at some point to give us a little bit of the buyer's perspective throughout, I think, on how these things affect what buyers' perceptions are as well. But I think it's important to note that, our team in general, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the listings that we put up. A lot of people think that we only put up a certain type of listing. I will say that a lot of our sellers just happen to have really good taste. But a lot of times we do go in there and we help them make their spaces look as best as possible. So, we take careful consideration with, we think about our target markets, we think about the buyers, the home, every home is different. So particular home and its sort of circumstances and the location. A lot of us have a very, keen sense of interiors and design and a certain sensibility. So we tend to be able to help our buyers make their spaces look their best, sort of create that aspirational quality that really translates in social media and online on the listing, which gets, buyers interested in the house and actually gets them out there. All of that leads to more offers, higher offers, all of that good stuff. So I think this is a really, really important topic. When we were sort of creating, the structure for this meeting and how we wanted to address it, I think that we, sort of categorized these quote unquote fixes into two categories, right? So one category is, projects that actually add value and increase the listing price. So we can go see your house and say, well, we think it'll list for this much, but if you do X and Y and Z, that listing price could be X amount. The other, sort of category that we lumped in here is projects that don't really do that, but what they do is improve the buyer's perception of the property. And therefore that increases activity, that increases interest. You get more people out to see the property, which leads to more offers, potential multiple offer situations, higher price in the end. So while it may not affect the actual initial valuation or listing price, it will affect what you eventually make on your home in the end. So I think we can start there. I don't know if, if Angelica, you want to just mention really quick, just a little bit about just buyers in this market and, sort of from your perspective, or we could just like do that throughout. That's also good.
And sprinkle it out. Buyers are definitely, they're hungry, but they are not going to buy just anything, right? Like the sort of, I think, frenzy that was happening under, when we were under quarantine, and there was a lot of fear in the world. That's kind of gone, and buyers are a little bit more discerning now. And so they are going to be more judgmental when they walk into a space about the things that they see, or even about seeing a place in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's why this is a really important conversation if anyone here is thinking of listing their home, because the buyer's perception is really important. I do talk to a lot of sellers that will sort of say, oh, I don't really care what the buyers think about what I did in that room. And I was like, well, you need to care about what the buyers think because they're the ones that are paying for your home. So you need to sort of detach yourself from what you feel about your home, your emotional attachment to it. things that you think are okay, it's not always okay from a buyer's perspective. So it's really important to always keep the buyer in mind when you are preparing your home to list. So I think we can start with like that first category, which is really about projects that add value and increase the actual listing price. Obviously, big, huge areas, guys, kitchens and bathrooms. Those are so important. Those will definitely lead the conversation, the impression the buyers have of the house. Those are the spaces that they want to see sort of renovated, done nicely. If we're trying to sell something that's essentially turnkey, those are the parts where you don't necessarily want to have a project after you close on the house. So kitchens, the level of renovation varies. We're looking at like a full renovation versus like a partial renovation. Sometimes just getting your cabinets painted and replacing those laminate countertops with like a quartz or something like that will go a long way to just make a kitchen feel new again without necessarily having to do the whole thing. I definitely think that appliances is also a really important area. So if you have, just like 80s cream appliances, like that's not a fresh kitchen. That's not like, and so it really goes a long way to just put in like some new stainless steel appliances. And, maybe they don't have, and it also varies with the house and the price point. They don't have to be high end, as long as you get like a nice new stainless steel appliance, that goes a long way to making the kitchen look brand new again. And yeah, I think, some of the other things that I've seen that I've had some experience with is some of the listings, like we'll have like we'll have beautiful wood flooring throughout the house and then a very terrible ceramic flooring in the kitchen, right? And a lot of times sellers don't want to incur the cost or the time expense to rip that up and have a new one put in. Sometimes, I've had sellers had great success with just painting the ceramic tile. I know it's a temporary fix, but it looks great in photos. It looks great in person. And it's definitely something that a buyer can live with for a lot longer without having to immediately rip that out and change that. So I think those are just a few of the sort of like, surrounding the kitchen area. Do you guys have anything else that you think? Katie?
One thing about appliances is there is a lot of accurate chatter about how long it takes to get things right now. So it's not necessarily an easy thing that a buyer is going to think that they can do. So it's really nice if you are planning on selling and that that's something you're going to do, even if it's in 6 months or a year, just go ahead and start working on that now, because there are still like people who are waiting like 6 months for a dishwasher or something. So I think appliances is something that you can definitely think about, ahead of time.
Yeah, thinking about it ahead of time is great, because then you're not sort of just having to settle for whatever is in stock, which sometimes is fine. I've had sellers just get whatever's in stock at Lowe's or Home Depot or maybe a local appliance dealer. But if you're looking for a specific thing and you're not going to sell for another several months or a year, why not put it in now? Why not enjoy it for yourself? And then it's ready to go when it comes time to list.
As far as appliances go, just make sure to measure, especially the fridge. Do not put a gargantuan fridge and have like a gap between the cabinets that are over the fridge and the fridge itself, or like it sticks out. Get counter depth that looks more modern. Just make sure it fits nicely.
Counter depth. Yeah, counter depth refrigerators are obviously going to be more expensive, right? And I realize you're probably trying to keep everything within a certain budget because you're selling the home. But a counter depth refrigerator makes a huge difference in a kitchen. No one likes a kitchen where the refrigerator is like eating the entire kitchen. That's always like a bad look. So that's definitely, if you can incur the cost, it's always better to try to go as much counter depth as possible, instead of getting one of those giant monsters. Bathroom
hardware.
Oh, go ahead.
Hardware in the kitchen. So there's so many people who put in new cabinets and then don't put any hardware on them, and it just looks really unfinished. So you want the space to look finished and thoughtful, and then that translates to the buyer. So put nice hardware on the cabinets.
Yeah, and I would say that that probably also falls a little bit more in the category of, fixes that will not necessarily increase the value, but will increase buyers' positive perception of the home, which, as we said before, leads to more offers and more money. Bathrooms is another really, really important area. So, sometimes you can't really or don't want to renovate the gut and renovate the entire thing. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of simple fixes, just replacing outdated fixtures, replacing, vanities and sinks, with just something that's like new and fresh and very neutral color palette, something that's going to appeal to the widest audience possible. That's always going to make a huge, huge difference. One of the bigger sort of categories on this is you have a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, maybe. Like, could you potentially add a second bathroom? That's something that we come across a lot. And when sellers are willing to do that, it's great because that makes your listing jump from one price point to a whole other price point. And it's not just that 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom is kind of the sweet spot. That's what all buyers want. So it's a lot harder to sell a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home than it is a 3-2. Sometimes you can't really fit a second bathroom in there. So maybe a nice little, medium point is to get a 1/2 bathroom in there. That goes a long way. So at least you have a 3, 1.5. You may only have one shower in your home, but if you have friends or family or guests staying with you, you have another place.
It's the toilet that's important.
And do their business. It's the toilet. And you know what? A lot of the summer's great here. Outdoor showers, I love it. I love an outdoor shower. I only use my outdoor shower in the summer, even though I have 2 bathrooms in my house. So that's always, a nice little feature to have. I think that's great. I mean, and around bathrooms, it's such an important space in the home. So I think that goes a real long way, even if, again, like I said, you're not doing a full gut reno, but you're just making it look
Fresh and clean.
thoughtful and fresh and clean. Bathrooms want to feel fresh and clean. So white is really important. I know, a lot of people think like, oh, color, we want to make it special, but I personally feel like bathrooms should feel very clean and therefore they should be white, but that also appeals to most buyers.
And you don't have to, like, if you have one like the bathrooms that have like an insert in the shower,
yes,
put in a new one.
That's put in a new one, or
tile or anything, but just put in a new one, switch out the weird glass doors for just a glass spray screen or something that's a little bit more modern and simple.
Yeah. And I would say if you do have one of those sort of all-in-one fiberglass tub shower combination things, those are really unappealing. They are typically found in sort of manufactured homes and mobile homes and that. So they sort of have a little bit of a stigma. And that could actually be like, assuming you can actually find someone who can do it for you, which is obviously a thing. It's difficult. There are people out there, and we certainly help our clients, find contractors to do things. But that's actually a pretty simple fix because you just rip that thing out. You don't have to get a $2,000 tub. I mean, you could just get like a nice, simple white $400 tub at a big box store, have someone put that in for you, and then you just need to tile the walls and it instantly feels like a brand new bathroom. And that'll go a long way in adding some value to your property for sure. I think another big area is flooring. Carpets, old dingy carpets, even, new kind of like not so bad looking carpets. Typically buyers just don't love carpeting. So whenever that can be sort of ripped out, and maybe you have amazing wood floors under there, I don't know, but if that's an option, do it 100%. Replacing, if you're willing to do the work and you have vinyl flooring throughout your house, replacing that with hardwood flooring or an engineered hardwood flooring, anything like that will also make a huge, huge impact on the space. And the overall sort of design and style of the house and what, buyers will perceive as a more turnkey, a nicer house. So that's also, I think, a really, really good place to put focus on if you have sort of like not a great situation with your flooring. We did mention painting tile a little bit before. I think that's a good quick fix. If that's all you can do, that's fine. In general, I think overall, like fixtures, specifically lighting fixtures. So if you have very old, sort of outdated looking ceiling fans, those can be easily swapped out for something nice and modern looking that will just really reshape the room. Light fixtures in general as well. Again, not something that you have to spend a ton of money on, but just getting something that's a little bit more contemporary. If your light fixtures are outdated, that's also going to make a huge impact. Finishes, paint. I can't express how important paint is. I think a lot of people think we walk into their houses and just tell them paint everything white, and we do, because it's what buyers, it looks good online. Buyers like to see that clean slate, that blank canvas. It looks contemporary, it looks bright, it looks modern. It makes everything about the house look so much better. If you've got good windows, you've got good light, but you've got like a dark green room, that's never going to translate well. You paint that white, all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is the brightest, most beautiful house I've ever seen. So paint makes a huge difference. Painting trim as well, just making sure your trim's all nicely done and painted and fresh is really important.
Caulked.
What's that?
And caulked.
And caulked, yeah, very important. Gaps, anything that sort of like seems like the construction might be a little shoddy. I mean, sometimes just adding a little bit of caulk here, regrouting this a little bit, like that goes a long way to make the home feel very fresh, well maintained, which is really important. We want homes to look well maintained and not like they've been neglected in any way. So that's important. As far as like, other finishes, obviously a big one is acoustical tile on a ceiling, popcorn ceilings, that sort of thing. Whenever you can remove that and just give it a fresh coat of paint, that's also going to go a very, very long way. And one of my favorite ones is replacing hollow core doors with solid doors. Sounds silly, but hollow core doors feel very cheap. And if you're trying to reach a certain price point, that's not going to translate really well. It's not sort of like going to justify that price. So that's one pretty simple fix, like just replacing your interior hollow core doors with a nice solid core door painted. Depends on the style of the house, but usually like if you're going for more contemporary vibe, you want a very sort of like flush, no panel door. But some paneling works in other homes. It depends on the style really, but nothing too crazy or too flashy. Again, we want to appeal to the largest buyer pool possible. That's what's going to make a successful sale.
Door hardware too.
Hardware, yeah, hardware is very, very important. Anything that looks outdated, obviously, or too light or janky, you want some nice, solid hardware. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers finishes. There's all sorts of special features that you could also think about. I think one that goes a pretty long way is just adding a stove, a wood stove or a gas stove to your living room. If you have that capability, sometimes you can get a pretty decent stove at one of the big box stores for like $700 or $800. Have it installed, makes a huge difference. It sells that romanticism, right, of your like cabin or your home in the woods. You're going to build a fire. Depends, whether you want to go with wood or gas. I mean, they're both fine. I think it also depends on really, even from a buyer's perspective, how the buyer plans to use the home. I think a lot of people feel like the idea of burning wood logs is very romantic, but once they do it a couple of times, they're like, this is a nightmare. This takes a lot of work. I don't want to do this anymore. It's a mess. And so gas is a good option. But then, you have to also think you might be not appealing to buyers who are a little bit more environmentally conscious and don't want to burn fossil fuels and, that sort of thing. So yeah, but either stove works. Either stove is great. People love them. It's going to make a huge difference. So that's one of the sort of like, special features in the special features category that I think would would really, really make a difference. Also, a lot of times we see homes that have really great attic space that's covered by a drop ceiling. And this is sort of a bigger project, but just opening that ceiling up and having a really beautiful, grand vaulted ceiling in your space changes everything.
Really not, and it depends on your roof line. It depends
Yeah.
on the construction of your home, whether it's trusses or beams, but it's generally not that difficult to vault to ceiling. It's messy. It's a lot of demo. But
Yeah, it's a lot of demo. If your insulation is in the attic, so it's on the underside of the roof, you will have to cover that at the beams with drywall or something. A much bigger project, if you want to have beautiful wood ceilings and you want them exposed, then the insulation has to be added to the outside of the roof, which if you don't have that means you're replacing the roof, but maybe you're already replacing the roof because it's shot and you need to replace it anyway and you have leaks everywhere. So that's a good opportunity to sort of think about, well, can we rip out all this drywall, expose the ceiling, insulate the outside of the roof? Done. Makes a huge difference. I think also, just like special little architectural features, whenever you have some sort of, I don't know, maybe it's an awkward situation, maybe it's just like sometimes just adding some like beams to the ceiling, add some interest. I mean, things like that. We have sellers who have put up like wood planking on their ceilings to give something a little bit more of a chalet cabin vibe. Again, does that appeal to everyone? Maybe not. I'm of the
depends on the home.
you should always kind of like keep it sort of like a blank slate. I think white ceilings are great. Someone could always add that later, but there's a lot of like, Angelica, you mentioned earlier, you had put some like columns in your house.
Yeah, like these antique columns I added. I opened the ceilings to expose all the joists. I ripped out the drywall here and now I have exposed brick. There was a wall here, it's gone.
Yeah, sometimes a house has inklings of some character and charm that used to be there or that are still there and a little hidden. You can expose those, you can add a little bit more, those columns in your house, for example. You guys can see it behind Angelica. Those those are adding a lot of character to her house. It's really like selling the vibe there, which I think is great. So that's another thing that we think about often. Mechanicals is really important. Katie, you had some stuff to say about mechanicals earlier.
Well, one thing is just and this sort of goes to maybe you're not adding value, but the buyer's overall confidence in the home and perception of what they're making an offer on. Just knowing where your mechanicals stand, like, is your boiler at the end of its useful life? Are there sort of bigger ticket things on the horizon? And would it best serve you to sort of absorb those into your own, preparing to sell instead of, passing it along to the buyer? One thing we're always thinking about is what's going to come up in an inspection report. And so, things like boilers, how are you cooling your house? How are you heating your house? And again, it's not necessarily going to add like dollar for dollar value, but it will, maybe create better confidence in the offers that are coming in.
I mean, if you're updating a lot of those things,
Yes.
it definitely does translate.
If you're updating and upgrading, if you're just maintaining an existing sort of like oil system or whatever, obviously there's better and more environmentally friendly upgrades you can make that will add value.
Yeah, when you're really like sort of doing a major upgrade, like you're getting rid of all of these antiquated, oil fueled systems. Maybe you're putting in a, cold climate heat pump, forced air situation, which is energy efficient.
Going electric.
Yeah, that actually does improve the value quite a bit. It's a bigger project, but if you already have a house that you're sort of like renovating, those are things to think about.
Boilers are a thing that will scare a lot of buyers. And that's like, heating systems, those sound like, and Angelica, maybe you can talk about this too, from the buyer's perspective, but it's like, it's one of the things that people hear and it might feel, you know, like an unmanageable task for them to take on.
Yeah, they're expensive, unsexy things, and
Yeah.
no buyers want to do the unsexy stuff. Like,
Yeah.
to some degree, for some buyers, you're better off updating all of the systems in the house and giving it a nice coat of paint and not doing the bathrooms.
Right.
Depends on the house, you know,
Yeah.
but you could get more value updating certain things over others. And like, we can always help you figure out where you're going to get the most bang for your buck when you're doing this stuff.
Yeah, because it varies with every home. Like we can't
Absolutely.
sort of like give you this list here and be like, this is what you need to do. Because you may not have to do all of this, or you only need to do a couple of these things, or there's things on here that we haven't even thought of because they're very specific to your home. So yeah, I think that's a really important part of the process with us getting ready to list your property. I think we can move on to sort of the other less intense fixes, the ones that improve buyers' perception of the property, increase the amount of showings we have, increase the amount of offers we get, which lead to multiple offers, higher prices, all of that good stuff. You know, this is things that we recommend this stuff almost in every listing that we go into. Very obvious is decluttering and organizing. That's super important. Some spaces that you wouldn't normally think people really care much about, but even just like simply organizing your basement and your closets a little bit, because buyers do open the closets, they look in there. It's always nice to see things just nicely done. The basement's also another one. I mean, let's just face it, most of our basements are a nightmare. That's what they're there for. That's why we love them. We can just shove a bunch of crap in there and it's great. But even just like organizing the crap so it doesn't look chaotic is really important. I think when in decluttering and organizing, removing personal items is also huge, right? Just personal photos. You don't want them showing up in the listing. Katie wants to say something.
I just wanted to say one thing about basements is like, you don't have to like clean it, but like dusting your cobwebs. There's going to be people in corners of your basement that you probably have not stepped foot in since you did your own inspection. Just sort of like considering that people are going to be moving throughout your house in a way that's very different from your day-to-day life. And like, you know, emerging from the basement covered in cobwebs, like it's fine, but like you could also, you know, easily have that not happen.
Yeah. And I mean, that leads us into like deep cleaning. Deep cleaning is
Yeah.
super important. Do it right before that listing goes live. So all of those buyers that are coming in that first weekend, which is when the majority of the listings of the showings happen, are just walking into a perfectly clean space. And by deep clean, I'm also referring to the inside of your refrigerator, the inside of your oven.
Unless those are all brand new.
Unless they're all brand new and you've never cooked in them. But people do.
They open everything. They open all your closets,
everything.
they open your fridge, your cabinets, your oven. They want to use the stuff and see if they feel good in that space.
Yeah. So anything that, you know, sort of improves. I mean, dryer vents is something that I see a lot of dust bunnies collecting on. You know, your air grills, your diffusers, your AC, if you have central air, but even if you have like a mini split unit, sometimes those like grills on the mini split units are disgusting. Window units, whatever, ceiling fans, wipe the dust off the ceiling fans. They can
Just get rid of them.
grody. Or get rid of them, put in a new one.
Clean your
Also,
range hood.
If at any point you had any like minor leaks under sinks and there's old water stains, you know, not that you have to replace the cabinet, but like putting something down just so people aren't opening it and seeing like an old water stain. It could be bone dry, not an issue, but like those things, it's like a clean oven, looking like the space is like really sparkling and not, you know, well, I guess, Danny, did you talk about fixing old stuff yet, or that's at the bottom of the list?
No, but we can. I mean, that's definitely something that I always look for. I'm just looking at every corner where walls meet ceilings.
Yeah.
Is there a brown spot there? Is there a little bit of bubbling or peeling paint? What is that? What happened there? Oh, we had a leak. We fixed it. The roof is fine. Nothing's wrong. Okay, well, let's patch that piece of drywall, let's paint it. Anything that makes a buyer feel like there's been any neglect in the home or there's a bigger issue, that always negatively impacts their perception. It negatively impacts whether they want to make an offer or not, how large, how high of an offer they want to make. All of those things are super important. So whether there's an issue or not, if there's any remnants of a past issue, I think that definitely fixing that as much as possible and making it go away because it's no longer an issue is obviously very, very important. So cabinets,
not hide active issues. We're
no,
not.
we never want to hide active issues. We want to fix active issues, fix remnants of past issues. Yes, 100%. I think that's really, really important.
Because buyers will start going down like a spiral of, there's so much wrong with this house because they saw like a crack in the wall or a water stain and, then some dinged up trim. And then they're like, oh, it's like everything. These people haven't taken care of this house at all. It's falling down,
And going back to cleaning, which one's really important is making sure your windows are cleaned.
Oh, windows.
Whether you have a good view or not, it's not even really about the view. If you've ever cleaned the windows in your house, the day you do, your house looks amazing. There's so much light coming in that you never knew existed. It just makes everything feel really great. And also, if you have great views, or even if you don't, I always suggest that, especially with like big, beautiful windows, maybe there's a mountain view, I always suggest that sellers remove their window screens for photos, for showings, for all of it. It may be a time of year where you like to keep your window screens in because you like to open the windows, but maybe you could remove them, not open them for that first weekend that we're showing the home, because it really highlights the views. It highlights the light coming into the house. I think that's really important. Houses always look a lot brighter and fresher and just cleaner with clean windows. Rearranging furniture, that's something that we do quite often. Adding furniture pieces. I mean, I've found
furniture pieces.
Yeah, I've found like chairs in someone's basement, and I'm like, can we like put that in the living room? That's missing like something. I'm thinking also about how the photographer is going to frame the photos and where the furniture could go and how that could sort of be maximized to look its best. Those go a long way. Just you may live in your home a certain way, and it may not be the way that most buyers would use the home. So, just because you particularly like to have 3 lazy boys in your living room doesn't mean that buyers are going to be able to sort of envision themselves living in that living room with your 3 lazy boys. So if you do have a couch, we can sort of swap some of those out. We can move things around. It kind of leads us into staging. A lot of times the staging that we do is really just rearranging some of the furniture that the sellers already have in their home. I think that staging is a longer conversation and could potentially be a part 3 in this series of videos. But we typically do mostly virtual staging. I think a lot of times it just comes down to a cost perspective. Usually we might be looking at a house that is completely vacant and empty, and it's a big expense to sort of like furnish that whole house and stage it for listing. So virtual staging's good. It gives buyers a sense of how the space can be used, what fits in it, how it could look, what sort of like sensibility they could sort of aspire to. Virtual staging helps a lot. Definitely houses that are staged sell faster. They sell for more money. Anytime that you can sort of sell again that lifestyle and that aspiration, it's always going to appeal to buyers. They're going to want to make higher offers. It's just the way it is. That's why some of the houses that we sell that have that really special interior design, or and I'm not saying like people have hired interior designers, sometimes these houses just have a really great design sensibility and aspirational quality, and those are the ones that we really see jump in the, in the higher sort of percentage of above ask offers. I think on average, we are, with our listings, we're kind of in the 13 to 15% above ask over the listings that we list. Some of those are 5% above ask, some of those are 30. When we see the ones that go like 30, it's usually because they have that aspirational quality. So I think that making the spaces look as best as possible, and sometimes that means just working with what you got, staging with what you got. And listen, we do, and sometimes we have to bring in white bedding, just to make that bedroom look nice and fresh and clean and amazing, and not that purple quilt, that sort of thing. That's really important. And, sometimes we have to do that, and that's okay. And we have, all kinds of people that we've worked with in the past, or that we know that have worked on other properties that do really nice, beautiful staging. If that's something that a seller is interested in, we can certainly explore that. And again, staging is a whole other conversation, a much larger conversation, but I think we can save that one for another time. Is there anything you guys wanted to add to this conversation here? Anything else you think that that would sort of increase, not value initially, but increase offers?
I mean, you just want to make the space as, like, the buyers want to be able to envision themselves living there. So you need to depersonalize, and like Danny said, do your best to create a place where the buyers would want to live, an aspirational space. And sometimes that just means a really clean, bright space so that buyers can see the potential of the home.
Yeah, I think, it's like creating a much more sparse environment makes it easier for people to see their own stuff in there. And also, again, I said it about the basement, but people are just going to be moving around your house in ways that you don't normally. So it's just like a time to think about, like, that weird corner of your living room that just like collects umbrellas and like rain boots or whatever, clear that out, put a really pretty plant there, or, like really look at every corner of your space, and think about how a buyer might see that, that's different from how you're living your everyday life.
Yeah, because one corner that you never think about, or don't even care about, or never crosses your mind is the one corner that a buyer is going to be like, that's where my blah, blah, blah goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
so
like
directly to that corner, and
yeah.
There's a brown spot on the wall. There's like dust, like that sort of thing. And they're like, oh, look, there's been some damage here, which there hasn't. You never know. So I think
touch
just
up all those little things.
What's that?
Touch up all the little things, because weirdly, buyers will obsess over the little things. And I've literally had buyers who like couldn't get past like dinged up cabinet doors, even though there were marble countertops there. It signified to them that the house was not cared for and that it had deeper issues, which it probably did not at all.
Mr.
Yeah,
Clean Magic Eraser is your friend.
Absolutely. It'll clean anything.
Yeah. Buy a 12 pack.
But that's really important. Just trying to see the house with fresh eyes. And that's why you bring in fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And bring in a friend or two, or, just,
Yeah.
hey, walk around my house. Tell me what you think. Where do you think of some areas? I mean, all of that helps. I think we have a few questions, which are very good ones. What about sacrificing a bedroom to add a bathroom?
It might be a good decision.
Yeah.
It just might be. How many bedrooms do you have? Kelly, are you still on the call? 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It might be
Might make sense for you.
Decision to sacrifice one of those bedrooms, and then you'll have a 3, 2.5, which is going to be a lot more desirable than a 4, 1.5.
Yeah, 3-2 is the absolutely most requested size of house.
Also, if there's a way to incorporate, if like one of the bedrooms is really big and there's a shared plumbing wall, you could add an ensuite or something like that that doesn't take away from your bedroom count, but adds another bathroom. It'll be different for every house, but
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
can make a huge difference.
Do you reduce the chances of selling if you put in a walk-in shower instead of a bathtub shower combo? We have a clawfoot tub on our third floor, but wonder if parents of young children would want to climb up to use the tub to bathe their children. Should we keep our tub on the second floor? Should we resurface our old cast iron tub or replace? Whoa, a lot of questions, lots to unpack. Helen Ward. We have questions for Helen. So how many bathrooms? It depends on how many bathrooms you have. I mean, I think if you only have one bathroom, might not appeal to people with children anyway, because
You have to think about the house overall. Like, is it a house where it has, you know, many other appealing features for a family where that's going to be like the one thing that's going to make them maybe not want to buy it? Or is it a home that's like, seems kind of more suited to be a little Airbnb cabin, and that's how it's going to function more likely?
Or a clawfoot tub would be like you know, like kind of more experiential and not practical, but.
Yeah, I mean, would parents of young children want to climb up to use a tub to bathe their children? I mean, that's a valid concern. You have 2.5 bathrooms. If you replace the tub on the second floor with a walk-in shower, the only tub would be on the third floor.
Oh, see.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, you want to have at least one tub in the house. I think that's important. I think having the option of bathing children or pets or anything in a tub is always good. Having it on the third floor, that's not as desirable, but not the worst thing in the world.
We'd have to see the house.
Yeah, because it depends. Like, are there bedrooms on that third floor? Like, you know, what else is going on up there?
Yeah, it's really hard to say without seeing the house and seeing what the layout is and what's going on your third floor and your second floor. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading.
Yeah. One big room on the third floor.
Do we keep old cast iron tubs circa 1940 and resurface or buy a new one? Depends on the tub. Sounds beautiful. Circa 1940 cast iron tub. I mean, resurfacing works great.
Yeah, reglazing an old tub is beautiful.
Yeah.
Buyers love old stuff that looks new.
Yeah, and it also depends. It also depends on, I mean, we'd have to see the house. It depends on what the style of the house is, what the overall style of that bathroom that tub is in. You know, do you want to retain, are there other sort of like charming or nice character qualities to that bathroom that it makes sense to keep it? Is the bathroom, you know, a little bit more contemporary, and then you have this really cool vintage tub that's also a good look? It really just depends on all of that. But I think, you know, a cast iron tub circa 1940 sounds great. Resurface that thing. Are extra luxury items, for example, radiant floor skylights, worth it if we're redoing everything else anyway? We have to redo our primary bath because of a shower leak. Radiant floors are awesome. It's very cold up here in the wintertime. No one likes a cold floor, especially after the shower.
And you can just do the electric radiant, and that's not expensive.
No.
Yeah. If you're pulling up tile, just have them lay down an electric radiant floor mat, tile on top of that. They'll put a little thermostat on your wall. It's great. I think that's a huge plus.
Absolutely.
2 thumbs up. Skylights, 2 thumbs up all the time. Anytime you can add in more light, great.
Just not right over the bed.
Yeah.
Skylights right over the bed are hit or miss with buyers.
And I think the ones that don't open have better longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have windows in your home, like you don't necessarily need that skylight to open. They almost always have a problem. There's always a leak. It's inevitable. But skylights are great. Anytime you can bring in more light into that house, whether it's with skylights, windows, which we probably touched on, or exterior portion of this series. Huge pluses. One big room on 3rd floor. Our house is very charming. Helen, it sounds great. I think your house sounds great. I want to see your house. I want to sell your house if you're wanting to sell it. I want to
Show
look
us
at
the
that
tub.
tub. Want to see that tub. Yeah, amazing. All right, well, I think
We missed a question about staging. Kathy asked if we could point her towards a stager. Yes, we can.
Yes.
yeah, we can point you towards a stager, Kathy. So a price point you advise staging over virtual staging for a vacant renovated home?
Depends on the home.
It depends on the home. I think it does depend on, the price point's important.
Yeah, like is it a vacant, restored 18th century mansion? Stage it. And we will definitely sell it.
But I do think also a lot of our buyers are second home buyers. And if you invest in furniture to put in the house, there is the possibility that you will be able to sell that furniture to the new owners.
100%.
Yeah, and we also know of some great places where you can rent furniture that can also potentially be sold with the home. And so many buyers are buying furniture with the homes these days just because lead times are long. It's taking everyone a long time. You want to be able to start using that home as soon as possible, and you don't want to wait 5 months for that couch to come. So we are finding that a lot of our buyers are purchasing furniture separate from the house contract, so for additional consideration, which is great. But yeah, the renting, there are some like more affordable renting options, furniture rental options that would work as well, instead of a full-blown staging service. And we just posted, Scott just posted one in our chat here, www.fullhouse.com, for those who won't see that chat later. Oh, here's a good one. What do buyers think generally about wood trim, ceiling, and baseboard? We have a large wooden frame windows and gray-white walls on our whole first floor. It's nice oak trim, but a little dark. I mean, it depends on the house. I like some wood trim.
Like Katie's wood trim looks very nice.
Yeah, I mean, is it dark brown wood trim? Probably paint that trim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless
Like
the
a
whole
nice-
house has like dark millwork everywhere and it looks really,
Right.
Also the
antique.
quality, the quality of the wood. Oh, did you say? No, but yeah, the
Quite-
quality of the wood.
Quite dark brown, she says, but good
Also-
wood. That's good. Are there other sort of wood, I don't know the style of your home, but do you have other built-ins? Do you have a lot of other sort of wood accents or things in your home that have that same tone? Because it might, hardwood floors, no built-ins.
Probably paint it.
Yeah, if you have got hardwood floors and they're similar in color to the trim, might be okay. I think that if you do have dark hardwood floors, I would probably brighten up the space as much as possible by painting the trim.
Yeah.
But again, it also depends on the tone of the wood. I mean, some dark browns are nice and some of them are like not nice at all. So
The shape of the trim matters.
the shape of the trim matters as well too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think, what about refinishing hardwood floors? Yes, refinish hardwood floors. That would be great. 100%. If they're in bad condition, refinish them. If they're in like medium okay condition, refinish them anyway. Refinish floors, buyers love that. It's going to make your house feel brand new instantly, and that's going to go a long way towards adding value for sure.
Don't make them shiny.
Never make them shiny. Always
Neutral tones.
Always use a matte sealer. Keep everything very neutral, as natural as you can. I mean, right now, what we're seeing is the trend in flooring is to just be sort of like a natural color. So
Yeah.
we've really gone away from dark wood flooring, which was popular, what, 15 years ago at this point, ish. So that's what really, you know, like when you look online, and I'm sure a lot of us do this, we go on social media, we look at people renovating their homes, doing stuff to their homes. What you'll see there mostly is really what buyers are also seeing, and it's kind of what they're aspiring their homes to look like. And you're going to see a lot of white walls, you're going to see a lot of like light European oak floors, you're going to see a lot of like oak cabinetry. Oak is, you know, pretty popular and prominent right now in all of the spaces that appeal to the majority of buyers. So if you can refinish, lighten your floors, that would be great. Do buyers still care about open floor plans?
And we've gotten, honestly, we get a lot of requests for houses with more rooms since COVID, because, you know, people have to be working from home in the same house or doing homeschooling while, you know, someone else is working. So we do get more requests for rooms. But we also get lots of requests for the open floor plan to have great entertaining space, because a lot of people are using their upstate house to host friends and family. So it's a mix.
Yeah, and the kitchen always ends up being like the main entertainment space. I mean, you could have a beautiful living room. It's like everyone's just like hanging out in the kitchen, drinking and eating. So that's, you know, that's why people like open floor plans. And also, if you're a family, you may want to be able to watch the whole family from the kitchen. I mean, those are the usual sort of reasons we hear from people why they want an open floor plan. Also, every home show on HGTV, everyone wants an open floor plan. So people think we have to have an open floor plan, but there actually are quite a lot of people. And Angelic, I don't know if you've seen this with your buyers, but there are a lot of people that are moving away from the open floor plan and want to have a little bit of a separate kitchen, because honestly, a lot of the times, if you have a mess in your kitchen and you're trying to like hang out in your living room, like you're still looking at the dirty dishes, like, so, you know, it really depends. But yeah, buyers still care about open floor plans. I would say they do.
Not all of them.
But not all of them.
Mhm.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap this up so no one falls asleep.
Going out on a high note.
Going out on a high note. Thank you all for joining us. I hope that we gave you a lot of things to think about. I hope we provided a lot of value for you. Please reach out to us if you have a home that you're thinking about listing. We love coming out, looking at all sorts of home, talking about what we can do to them. So we would love to do that for you guys as well. So yeah.
Connect you to all of our vendors and contractors, and we got someone for everything. So.
This is true. All right. Bye. Take care.